Alright, so I'm not going to go into the new ATF rule in long form. I'm just going to give you my thoughts on it, and it'll make sense why I'm not going into long form after I give you my thoughts on it. But first I want to talk about the sponsor of this channel. The sponsor of this channel is Ghost Gunner. What it is your own CNC machine at a very affordable price that you can purchase and do all your firearms needs. Cut receivers, serialize receivers, do special lightning cuts, run prototyping, everything you would ever want to do. And the awesome part about it is you don't need to know how to run a CNC in order to run the machine, but you can learn how to run a CNC on the machine. Yeah, you may be thinking, oh, this is crazy expensive, but the ATF rule says you only have to own the machine that's making the firearm. Even in big FFL shops, usually the LLC owns the machine or there's a couple investors. So therefore, you and 20 of your friends, if you have 20 friends, I don't have 20 friends, I need more friends. Anyway, you and 20 of your friends could each buy a part of it. So you technically own the machine, therefore you can use the machine and you can all just pass it around. Alright, so what's my thoughts on the new ATF rule? Let's just brush over exactly what it is. Basically, all firearms manufactured need to be serialized. They have this term called PMF, for privately manufactured firearms. I've never heard of that abbreviation before. I don't know if I just never heard of it or now they came up with a new abbreviation since they're going to be, or attempting to interfere with them. A new gunsmith FFL LLC made, or not LLC, FFL made just for somebody to have a license to serialize firearms. New definition for firearms. Anything with one or more firearm parts in it would now become a receiver. So like if you split an AR-15 in half, you'd have two firearms. Then you put them together and then you have one firearm. Then you split them in half, you have two firearms because the upper and lower both have more than one part. And I don't know if the buffer would be considered a part. You might be able to split an ATF into 3 different firearms. So we'll have to see how that goes. Basically, if it were to go through, you would see firearms like an old German Luger or a Springfield M1A or M1 Grand where like the whole thing's just covered in serial numbers. So we'll have to see what happens with that if this should actually go through. A deadline for marking your firearm, so after this date you have so long to serialize your firearm and get it on a record. A new record keeping time period, which I'm sure will just say you must keep all firearms records until the business shuts down and then turn them over. Because now there's a year period. I've never shut down a gun shop, so I don't know what that exact year period is. I think it's like 7 years or something like that. Any record older than that you don't need to turn in. But any record within a 7-year period, again, I might be wrong on this time period because I've never closed down a gun shop, so I never took the time to see how long that record is for. So, basically, this is called 2021 R-05. Will this pass? I don't think so. I think there'll be enough support to attack this thing to shut it down. And I believe they know that, because otherwise it would have been a lot easier just to say, any firearm manufacturer must be done by an 07 manufacturer. Boom. All this crap they're talking about, it's done. So I think they just threw like a general list of things they would like to do. And then if this gets shut down, they'll break it into individual parts. The things that'll probably ultimately wind up going through is the time period for record keeping. Probably the new FFL, because that they could just do. Probably the definition of a firearm. This just kind of seems like their itinerary for the future, what they're going to go through and they're going to push through in individual parts. And it would have been a lot easier, too, just to be like, all firearms must be serialized. All firearms must be manufactured by an 07 manufacturer. That would be it. Like, 2 paragraphs. And they would have... Because it's obvious they're going after ghost guns, and they're trying to make it more complex so it's harder to make a ghost gun. Well, because, like, how would having this special gunsmith put a serialized number on your firearm help them in a crime? Because currently, say a bank gets robbed and there's a firearm left at the scene of the crime, what they would do is they would go to the manufacturer of the firearm. And if you're the one that's built the firearm, it's got your name and address right on it. So, okay. Gun gets left at a bank crime. They run the serialized. They go to Smith & Wesson. They're like, hey, Smith & Wesson, where did you sell the serial number to? They're like, I sold it to Xander's. They call up Xander's. Hey, where did you sell the serial number to? They're like, we sold it to Coloma Resale. So they call up Coloma Resale. Hey, where did you sell the serial number to? We sold it to Bob Hunt. So then they call Bob Hunt. Hey, where did you sell this serial number to? And they're like, oh, I sold it back to Coloma Resale. I traded it in for another firearm. So then they call us. Where exactly did you sell the serial number to after it came in from Bob Hunt? Okay, we sold it to Mike Hunt. And then they call up Mike Hunt, and he's like, oh, I sold it to some guy at Walgreens at 3 a.m. And that's where their case goes cold. So how would serializing your firearm or having to serialize your firearm help them solve a crime? Because now they'd have a firearm or have it registered, serialized. It would make more sense just to say they all need to be serialized. So now they got this firearm at the scene of the crime with your name and address on it. If you want to sell a home manufactured firearm, you had to do that anyway. So then their process would be like, okay, so we have the name and manufacturer. They go to Mike and they're like, hey, we know you manufactured this firearm. Did you rob this bank, or what did you do with the firearm? And he's like, yes, I robbed the bank, or no, I sold that firearm at Walgreens at 3 a.m. Either way, they're not helping at all with trying to figure out who had this magic firearm that was magically left at a scene of a crime, because apparently that's all the new rage. When you commit a crime with a firearm, you drop it at the scene of the crime and you walk away. So I don't know why that's such a popular thing to do and why they're doing all these steps to try to figure out where that firearm came from, but whatever. So anyway, thank you for watching. Again, I don't have a crystal ball. I can't predict the future. Will this go through? Highly unlikely. Will stages of this go through over the next couple of years? Oh, most definitely. I think that's exactly what they're going to do. Anyway, thank you for watching. Like the support channel. Got my Patreon right there. Don't forget to show my sponsors some love. This way they continue to sponsor the channel. Also, I have affiliate links in the description down below. Just by clicking on those links, even if you don't buy what the link is for, just clicking on that and then doing the Amazon shopping you're going to do anyway, I get a little kickback for it because you came there off my channel. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Why do you gotta be such a heartless little brat?
If I am such a brat, then why don't you spank me right now, Daddy? And show me what a bad girl I have been and teach me a lesson.
Okay, I might have been overreacting a little bit, Lacey. I love you. I'm never gonna trade you in.
I love you too.
It's not the action I wanted, but it's the action I can get.